be bold, be heard. Welcome to Unmute Your Mic with your host, Jessica Bell.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Unmute Your Mic. My name is Jessica Bell. I am in Kansas City, Missouri, and I am here with Pastor Daryl and Teresa Ordell. They are two of my favorite people. They have really blessed me in my life, and a lot of the things that I have gone through and the story that I've shared with many of you. They walked with me firsthand through that. So I'm really excited for you all to hear their story and everything that they have to share. Pastor Daryl and Pastor Teresa, I thank you again for agreeing to be on my platform. It blesses me more than you know. If you guys can just share a little bit about some of the things that just your background, and we can kind of go from there.
Okay. All right. Hit it.
You go.
All right. We're Team Ordell, and we are so happy to be here with you, Jessica. You are just such a phenomenal woman leading this millennial generation, and I just can never be more proud of you and so excited to be here. I think that we just have a unique story. We have we have a story that I believe is for this generation, where we don't mind sharing the pitfalls, the highs, the lows. There's a movie. I can't say the line from the movie, but there's a movie where this couple we saw one time, and the couple, like, everything in their life fell apart, and they're like, we're screwed, we're screwed. So we've been that couple, and then we've been the couple that's been, celebrated the highs. So that's our story. We met through a young lady, Dr. Candace, in Detroit. I was mentoring her, and his sister was also mentoring her. Like, I more like a spiritual mentor, former youth pastor, and his sister was her mentor. And his sister saw me at an event and told Candace, "Hey, I saw this girl. I would love to introduce her to my brother." And then I just randomly came over Candace's house the next day, and she was like, "You're the girl." And I was like, "I'm the girl." So they literally called him on the phone, and yeah, it was quite a little ride. But he was a Broadway actor. He was in Rent at the time. I was in California running my own ministry, just didn't see it coming. But, people saw the connection, what we didn't see. And it took 6 years, I think, for it to actually come together. But we had 5 incredible years as friends, like for real friends, not that late night. Okay, don't tell nobody, but like for real, legitimate friends. I would call him if I was freaking out about somebody I was dating, and I would call him when I knew he was freaking out about somebody he was dating. You go.
Okay, I go. Pardon me. Yeah, I think people really trip when we say we were friends, but yeah, we were friends, and it wasn't no like friends with benefits, wasn't none of that, because I knew that because at the time I was like, a low key little, I had this girl I liked, and that girl this girl I was hanging out with, and
that's his phrase, hanging out.
We were hanging out. Y'all know what hanging out. Come on, y'all know what hanging out is. We were hanging out, and so, but I knew that there wasn't gonna be no hanging out with her. I knew that you had to come correct. You couldn't be no, none of that. She wasn't having none of that. So I was just like, all right, so we're gonna be friends, right? And so it was interesting because she was having surgery. I don't know. The Lord told me to call her. I was in California. She was in Atlanta. And the Lord said, you need to call Teresa to see how she's doing. And I had to talk to her. I think we would talk on the phone once she moved to Atlanta. We would talk like months, every couple, 2-3 months. So anyway, the Lord told me to call her. And I called her. And at that point, she had just been told she needed to have surgery. And the guy she was dating was like, yeah, I can't go with you to the surgery because I got tickets to the football game.
The Dallas Cowboy playoff game. So that was way more important than me.
was the Dallas Cowboys.
Yes.
But anyway,
Wow.
but the Lord said, call her. And I called her at that point and said, what's going on? You know, and so it just started from that point. From that point on, it started.
And I, you know, what's important to add to about that, Jessica, is that we live in a time period where there are so many successful women. There are so many women that are making money, you know, running companies, VPs, you know, directors or lawyers, attorneys, whatever. And there really does not appear to be a need, you know. And I had a single guy tell me one time, he said, you really don't need anything, and that'll always keep you unattractive. And I was like, really? You know, so I was traveling a lot at that time and you know, and very, you know, very successful. I was making six figures, but there's always going to be a need. It may not be monetary, but need, you know, that you will need something. And so here I was at a point where I needed something that a check couldn't cover or something. And so it was this emotional need. And he came to my, it sounds so cliche, but he came to my rescue. He was there. He was in the hospital. He stopped his schedule. He was successful. He was living in two different cities in Chicago and LA, but he stopped and was there. And I think that most of the generation is moving so fast. You know, this, I mean, the statistics on millennials are earth shaking. They're just always working. Work is more a priority than anything else, you know, and it's that drive for success. It's being a millionaire before I'm 25, and I've failed if I'm 30, and I'm not, you know, driving in a Benz and owning a condo in 3 different cities. So
something I want to say something. Just interject. I want to interject something because she talked about feeling an emotional need. And here's the thing, successful women are going to be, it's intimidating to meet a successful woman, especially if you don't have anything to bring to the table. So you're going to meet men who are insecure about you being successful. But the guy, and I'm going to do this from a biblical point of view, but the guy that the Lord is preparing for you is not going to be intimidated by the fact that you make more money than him. All right. In addition to that, my wife's not saying that you have to depend on him to meet that need. What she is saying,
that's very real, especially in the age, Will and Jada, where Jada was like, you know, I have this need and it was just never fulfilled.
Yeah.
What she said that?
Yeah, that's a whole nother round table talk. But I mean, but that person can assist. They're not there. God fills the void.
Right. But that person assists because the scripture says 1 puts 1,000 to flight, 2 puts 10,000 to flight. That's not even numerically. You can't even numerically think about that. How great that is. 2 people working together put 10,000 to flight, whereas one can only put 1,000 to flight. So when she says that, I said all this to say that when you think about it, women don't settle. And one thing I always told her when we got together was, don't play down who you are for me.
He
don't play down who you are for me. If you got to play down who you are for him, there's a problem. Not to say that he's not the one, but maybe you need to talk about it. But his job is to hold you up as high as he can get you. Your job is to help him hold you up as high as he can get you.
Yeah. Okay. So on that note,
hold you up.
Right.
So there's this circle.
So if I'm taking care of her and she's taking care of me, everybody's taken care of.
Yeah.
If you have kids, if I'm taking care of her and she's taking care of me, then we're both whole enough to take care of our children.
Okay, so on that note, I did want to ask a question. Pastor Darrell, earlier on you said that you had people that you hung out with, but you knew with Pastor Teresa that you couldn't do that. So what was different about her that made you say, I have to come correct when it comes to her and I can't treat her like I've been treating everybody else?
Because when I smiled at her, she didn't fall for because she was up front and from the beginning. From the beginning, can
you clarify up front, because I've seen some women give a list of rules. I don't do this.
Exactly.
So you don't have to live. You don't have to give the list. Live the list.
That's what it is. You don't have to give the list. Live the list. So when I prank called her when I first met her, because when they called me, I wasn't at home. So when I prank called her, And then I called
He
back,
literally did.
and she didn't know it was me. So I pretended.
Don't go through the whole.
Hold up. So I pretended like I didn't prank call her. And
Oh,
so
my.
I said, "What do you do for a living?" And she said, "I don't want to tell you." And I said, "Are you a stripper? Because I'm okay with that, right?" And she goes, "No, I'm
He
not.
did. He did.
I'm not a stripper." And she goes, "I'm a pastor." And I was like, "Oh, okay." But here's the thing: when she said I'm a pastor, she walked the walk. So when we met, it wasn't no like you could put your hand on my thigh, or we can snuggle, or I can stay over
Was I boring though?
your house.
Because I was a
If
pastor?
you was boring, we wouldn't be married.
Now that's true. Yeah, that's true.
So it wasn't like she would come over my house and she would spend the night, and it wasn't any of that. Most of the time we met at he lived in Pasadena, I lived in Redondo.
Sure,
we met at this vegan restaurant
in the
middle in Beverly Hills, and so she walked the walk.
But in that, one thing that he did, he created a safe space to do that. So it was like a judgment-free zone. I mean, he gave me this protection as a friend where I felt he was a safe place. So the intent was not to marry him. I just felt like he was such a safe place. And then fast forward 6 years at our wedding, the first thing my mother said is, I believe that the one thing I know is that Daryl will always keep her safe. And that safety that he provided was the very thing that drew me. Looking someone, this is so weird because in this generation we're looking for somebody that will scroll good on our social media site, or we're looking for somebody who, okay, do you have this look? Are we always looking legit? Are we always, a power couple? Are we always? And there is so many levels to what you can really be as a power couple. So do I bring power to your relationship? Because if I bring power to your relationship, the rest is gravy. So I think really understanding what you're looking for and what type of person you should be looking for. He was successful. He was successful on Broadway. He was a successful actor. Then God transitioned his life into, let me just slow you down. I was successful in ministry as far as women can go, and have written books, but God slowed me down. He had to slow us down to connect us.
And I wanted to just add on to what she said. If he respects you, he's not going to try to overstep your boundaries. If it happens one time and you correct him, and he's like, okay, I got that, then I'm going to autocorrect. I'm going to correct my behavior around you. We can still be friends, and yada yada yada. But you know what I mean? And then you can go from there. But you got brothers who are like, oh, you say you a pastor, you say you walking the walk. Every time you come over, if you go over to his house or you meet him out, he comes over to your house. He in his robe, you know what I mean? Trying to answer the door in his robe. What you got? I just stepped out of the shower. You step out of the shower every time I come see you? Come on, bruh. Right? So he's not.
No, that's so true. Yeah.
Right. He's not going to violate that.
So
if there's a violation, then you need to keep stepping.
So you're looking for,
because he's not your friend,
for someone that is supernaturally attractive. That's what I call it. Naturally attractive will only get you so far. Supernaturally attractive is above the bar. And every time you see them, there's another level of attraction that starts to peek through. And you're like, wait, what is this that's drawing me in? And so,
that's what she said. She said, he's supernaturally attractive.
I wrote that book before I even knew you.
Yeah, you wrote it. You knew I was coming. She knew I was coming, y'all.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, then my question for you, Pastor TB, I know part of your story is you talked about how you got married later on in life. So what encouragement can you give ladies who feel like, I'm 30 or I'm in my 30s and I don't know if it's going to happen for me, but to hold on to their morals? Because I know sometimes the older we get, the morals start falling to our list gets shorter and shorter because we're getting patient. But then we can end up tying ourselves with somebody God has not called us to be tied with. So what encouragement do you have for people who are in that position?
Don't follow Steve Harvey's book.
I can't. Can't take you
I'm
anywhere.
just saying.
He just doesn't believe in the 90-day rule, and quite frankly, I don't either.
No, because what's gonna happen on the real? What's gonna happen?
And then on the 100th day, he's gone.
When you give it up on the 90th day, on
the 91st day,
91st day, or whatever it is, whenever you say stop,
but we like Steve Harvey, so we're gonna be nice. Okay.
I don't. This is Steve.
Okay,
Steve's a millionaire. Steve, if you hear this, send some money this way.
Okay. All right, stop. Let's get back. I can't remember the question. Okay. So I think she was asking me maintaining. You know what? Discovering your worth. You are on this beautiful journey of discovering your worth. And there are going to be times where you don't know your worth and you'll give yourself away. And then it's this journey of finding out. And God is constantly there whispering in your ear. You're fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are my works. You got to know. And there's a scripture in Psalm 139 that says, you're fearfully and wonderfully. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. And my soul knows it right well. So it's one thing for God to tell you, you're fearfully and wonderfully made. Don't give yourself away. Don't, I told this girl one time, I said, if you had an American Express black card, would you hook it on your necklace? Would you sit it on the top part of your card? And she was like, no, girl, I put that thing away straight, and all that stuff like that. Okay, so then why are you out there advertising what you got in, skimpy clothes and whatnot? You are an American Express black card with an unlimited, a credit balance, available credit. So it's all about knowing. So part of your journey of knowing your value is falling into those moments where you don't act like you're valuable. And then you are on this discovery, and God is constantly there. You're fearfully and wonderfully made, but it's that moment where you finally whisper back to God, oh, my soul knows it. Now I see it. So then I acted, but you tell, and then So God is available for this journey. Like he knows there are going to be those nights of shame. Those are going to be those moments of not knowing who you are, and then this moment. So I'm sorry, babe, one more thing. We joke because before we got together, I was dating this judge, and I was dating this judge, and he wanted to drag this thing on for years, And so he flew me to the Bahamas, and I said, well, I won't stay with you. You have to send a friend. So he flew with my friend with me, all inclusive. And I said, I love to come, but there are certain boundaries. And he respected that. But there was a moment when he wanted to drag on my time. And I remember driving him to the airport one time when he was in the States visiting. And I said, I can't give you all this time. I said, I know my value, and you're on this. If you don't know me by now, you never gonna know me, Ooh. And he said something to me that blew me away. He was getting out of my car. He said, women don't miss out on a guy like me. I'll talk to you tonight. And he literally got out the car and walked in, and he literally thought he was going to talk to me that night. And I was like, a guy like you, but do you know who I am? And it was that moment of truth where God says, is he determining who you are, or am I determining? And then I found him.
Exactly.
And it was
he found me.
So it's this journey.
But I think it's also letting yourself know the truth. You said God knows, but you have to tell yourself. So if we talk about it from a spiritual perspective, yes, God knows. But how does that relate to this plane? We have to tell ourselves, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. And a lot of times we, as people of color, we don't believe in affirmations. We don't believe in talking to ourselves and those kind of things. But we have to speak the truth to ourselves. You can use the scripture and
use the word.
Use the word. I'm not saying you use the word, but you should also tell yourself, this is who I am. This is what I am. And when you do that, you decide whether you're going to settle for those things or not. Because when that frivolous stuff comes your way, when you see that dude and
or you get that treatment where you're treated like you just aren't valuable.
I had an older woman. I met this older woman that I was trying to hang out with, and she said, "You know what? You are cute, but you're like cotton candy." And I was like, "What's that mean?" She said, "It's so good to you, but it's not good for you." And I was like, "Oh."
Did you really want to be that dude?
I didn't want to be that dude. So I started making changes because we think that that's what it's supposed to be. And it's not, because at some point I had to become a protectorate. I had to become a provider, even though maybe she's making more money than I am. But so what? I cover her. And this is from a spiritual perspective. I cover her. And even if it's not, I was talking to my barber the other day, and he was like, it's my job to make sure she's okay. But you have a lot of brothers out there who, oh, you're supposed to take care of me. Oh, you're supposed to da-da-da.
Yeah.
You guys are supposed to take care of each other.
Well, I think that's the breakdown of the generations. You know, there's these boys that are raised by women without that man to stabilize what she's putting in him. And then there's these women that are raised by women taking care of men. So then they're like, you know, treating the men like, anyway. So you know what I mean? So then these women are becoming the parent. And these men are just rolling in behind and doing whatever.
Yeah.
And when you have that deep-seated insecurity is a beast. It'll rob you. You will be treated like, it will reduce you down to nothing. And you will put up with behavior. It's like, do I really want to be, you know, this?
Like
and then
that,
there's so many women out there being treated like that or playing themselves down that you think that's normal. But,
you know, one thing I tell our daughter's 9, and I teach middle school. So I teach 6th, 7th, 8th grade girls, boys and girls. But I always tell my girls, especially when I see them doing this, I say, remember that you are the prize. Mm-hmm. If he does not know that you are the prize, he needs to get to stepping.
And it starts in middle school, but with the ratio of so many women to one man, then it's like, yeah, I might be a prize, but this prize has to play myself down. But let's go back. We put on the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill last week, and treating you like a hard rock when you really are a gem, baby girl. Respect is just the minimum, you know. So it really gets that you living like a hard rock, but you really are a gem. And when is your soul gonna know that?
Right.
Because you could
talk, but that's really good. And you guys have said a lot of good points that we could probably have a whole hour like conversation on those points. And I did want to ask you guys, so I do have a lot of people who listen who are either single or newly married. And so what is some advice you can give people in especially 2020 with how the world is and how, especially with like social media and the temptations that people have once they get married? So we know, like, obviously there are things like, you know, saying the word, but what are some other practical things that you guys did early on to kind of solidify the foundation?
You want to say it? Because we got one rule, number one rule rather.
Well, we got one rule, but I think with social media, I think one of the first things that you should do when you get married is detach yourself from everything else for at least 6 weeks to 2 months. So if you're newly married, you need to get off social media. You need to just spend time with your spouse, because even if you guys live together, being married is a whole different animal.
Right.
So you need to figure out how to spend time with each other. And one thing I tell her, this is first. This is before everything else. This is before your job. This is before your mama.
Your friends.
This is for your friends. Mm-hmm. This is before your favorite television show. Because if you take care of this, there will be time for all of that.
Because I think that when you're on your honeymoon and we're seeing shots of you on your honeymoon, you have violated one of the most sacred moments of your relationship. And so, and I have told young people that, and then turn around and see them online posting pictures from their honeymoon because you're so busy trying to post them later. You better solidify what you have going on. Even if you can only take 2 days or 3 days, you have to sanctify. Before you get married, you're supposed to sanctify yourself. And then when you get married, you have to sanctify your relationship. And I think in this social media driven world generation, we feel like we'll be missed and we'll lose time if we don't sanctify, pull away. And that just shows that there's no understanding of why God would say that, because we have to get this thing going. And no matter how much time you spend together, you have to give yourself that moment of giving yourself to that person. I think giving your body, but I give you myself. I will literally shut off my time, all this,
my undivided attention,
is my moment.
All of that. I give that to you. And we're so busy trying to impress people. We're so busy wanting to know what other people think. It doesn't matter what everybody else thinks. What matters is what's happening right here. And if this ain't happening,
because you're supposed to tithe the first fruits of your money, the first fruits of your time. So when you get married, the first fruits, the very first days, weeks, months, y'all need to figure out who the heck you are.
Get together as a team. Like Team Ordell wasn't Team Ordell. We were Daryl and Teresa.
Yeah. And it took us being on our honeymoon, not our honeymoon, on our first trip as married people. We're in Louisiana at Essence Festival, and the man said to walk, and it was crowds of people, and he was taking too much time. And I was like, look, I'm 40, so in my mind, I just started walking, and he boom, and I was like, dude, what? And he's like, you have to listen to me. Now that could have been viewed as he's trying to run my life, but he was like, I am trying to protect you. Don't listen to the police. He's not looking at you. He's looking at the crowd. I am looking at you. And there was something he saw going around that I just wasn't aware of. And so I got so mad, but it wasn't until that night. And he was like, you are my responsibility. It's not about giving you orders. It's about, I am trying to protect you. And I saw what you couldn't see. And that's marriage. But he's going to also share our number one rule.
Oh, our number one rule is only one of us can be crazy at a time.
Only one.
So if you mad and upset, you got a whole, if she's mad and upset, I got a whole mine until I can get mine out later.
We can't
both be crazy, because you can't communicate when you're both crazy. You can't communicate when you're both angry or upset.
Because then you're talking about your mama, your cousin, you ready to leave.
You talk about a black dude's mama, it's on and popping. What, you talking about my mama?
Y'all split money before you even.
I know, the voice gets hot. You talking about my mama?
So when he takes that moment to say something, yeah.
Only one of us can be crazy at a time.
Only one.
But the thing is this: there's a learning curve. The media, movies, and TV will tell you, "Oh, you got married. It's supposed to be perfect." Nah, because you're taking two individuals that were walking in different direction. Now they're walking in the same direction. So you have to figure out how to walk together in the same direction. All right. If one is walking and this one is stopped, you're not walking together. If she's walking this way and I'm walking this way, we're not walking together. So we have to be moving in the same direction together. And that takes communication.
Yes, and communication is literally like the backbone of almost every relationship, obviously outside of God being first.
Right.
So you guys could just take about 2 minutes, because we're almost done, and it went extremely fast, and we're going to have to do a part 2 for sure. Yeah. But you guys can take 2 minutes to encourage people who are waiting for their promise. So we didn't get into your entire story, because there's so much there that we could unpack. But I know that you guys have a story that is filled with God fulfilling your promises and things that maybe you guys didn't know were going to happen because they happened later on. So if you guys could just talk to the people who are waiting for spouses, waiting for children, and they're kind of getting to that point where they're like, I just don't know and I don't see it. If you could just take 2 minutes to encourage them, I know I would really appreciate it.
I'll go and then you end.
Okay.
I would say this: we live in a world that's instant. We want things to happen right away. We have to be patient. You will say that you still have hope, but your hope has been compromised. Hope compromised means you don't see yourself in the future. You don't see yourself doing this thing. You don't see yourself being married. You don't see yourself. And we have to, the scripture says, speak those things that are not as though they are. We have that power. Mm-hmm. God's going to let you know if you can have it or not. But you have to speak those things that are not as though they are. We're speaking some things right now that seem impossible. But I believe that if you speak it, the Lord will say, okay, I'm going to do this, or yes, I'll do that. Right? So we have to fight against hope being compromised. Mm-hmm. And that is not seeing yourself in your future with those things. Start speaking those things, start praying those things, particularly for believers. Yeah. Pray those things.
I think that's most important. And I think it's Psalm 139 that ends with wait. And then it says, and wait. So it's this
right.
fabulous intention of not being afraid to miss a good opportunity versus the promise. So some situations are just great opportunities. And you hear that, girl, you'd be crazy not to do why, how you gonna, but is it a good opportunity or is it the promise of God? And promises are so beautiful. And especially surprises, you know, but I would say wait and wait. And that's why, you know, as pastors, as educators, as who we are, and we do coaching, and we and just digging into what is it that you want so bad that you can't wait for, but to settle for a good opportunity versus a promise, because you just don't know if it'll come. And some of it is because your trust is broken. But I think that getting married after 40, having a child after 42, redefining our careers, you know, we're 50 and doing a new career because the story is not over, and discovering all these beautiful things about who you are. It's a beautiful promise, and it's a beautiful promise. So wait and be willing to wait.
He says it again in Psalm 27, wait on the Lord, be of good courage, and he will strengthen thy heart. Wait, I say, on the Lord.
Well, I thank you guys again so much. You guys blessed me, so I'm sitting here like I'm 30 minutes. So
like we're just talking to you. We're not even talking,
right? Yeah. I really appreciate it. I'm going to put Pastor Darrell and Pastor Teresa's information below. Please reach out to them for prayer. They do coaching. They are amazing people. Please stay connected with them. I thank everyone for watching another episode of Unmute Your Mic. I thank you, Pastor Darrell, Pastor T. I love you guys more than I can ever express. And I'll see you guys next time.
Looking forward to call us for coaching. We love you guys. Stay in the fight. We love you, Jess. You are fabulous.
I love you too.
I love you. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Unmute Your Mic. Be sure to tune in next time when Jessica takes her mic off mute as she continues her journey to find stories that inspire and uplift our communities.